Good morning, everybody. This is another episode of the SLTD Going Over Big Time podcast. I am, of course, Alan, and joined here once again with Mike, and we are going to review the 2023 AEW Worlds End pay per view. The last pay per view of AEW's calendar year took place in the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, New York, December 30th, Saturday. The headline match was, of course, world champion MJF versus Samoa Joe, but there was a list of really good matches that were on the card as well. Surprisingly well put together, given the almost last minute booking, I would say, within a space of a week or so, because up until up until the week before, just a few days before the pay per view, there weren't a lot of matches that were scheduled other than the main event I mentioned and one other world title match. But we'll get into it and just to see how it played out. Of course, the Dynamite after World's End also took place as of this recording, so we can tie into what happened on the first AEW Dynamite of 2024 and how things are going forward. So, Mike, one thing I noticed before we get into the matches is that this is the first pay per view that I can remember where there was nobody from the Elite that was on the card. That was Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, or Hangman Adam Page. Kenny, of course, he's going to be out indefinitely due to recovering from diverticulitis, and the Young Bucks was basically kind of just written off the show after they lost a tag team title match that they were supposed to have against, ironically, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Um, I mean, on collateral, Chris Jericho has also been since World's End been kind of like phased out of TV, but he might be still coming on. But after the pay per view, he wasn't. It was evident that he was not being put on as much. But anyway, we'll get into Jericho's involvement with the pay per view. But overall, how did you find this last show of AEW in 2023?
Um, so honestly, I was kind of very, very up and down, and I don't want to say disappointed, but this was really like a three or four matches that were very good, and like there's like this weird lull in the middle where it was just like, what? Why did we do this? Why is this happening? What, you know? Due to some stuff happened weirdly because of injuries to certain people. Some things were just like this didn't need to happen, or uh so yeah, I'm not saying it was like the worst pay-per-view ever or anything like that. It really just felt like a 3 or 4 match show, which is odd considering I think this is the only pay-per-view that AEW has ever done that didn't have 14 matches.
Well, yeah, I think it was a bit shorter than previous pay per views, and
Well, it had 13, so
but
I guess
okay,
it's only off
maybe
by
it didn't.
one.
Yeah, it kind of maybe it felt shorter, but they did sort
Yeah.
of like. I mean, they did add in a bunch of matches that were kind of felt like they were almost booked at the last minute, and then there were some that were just kind of thrown together. It seemed, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But let's get into the. Let's start with the pre-show. The pre-show had three matches in the
Mm-hmm.
first hour. The first one was I feel that this was kind of randomly put together. But, Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, this was booked to be they were supposed to be some sort of tag team match, but then Stokely Hathaway, who has inserted himself between the two women now, suggested apparently that they should face each other instead. And so this ended up being booked as sort of a Battle of Long Island kind of match. Willow being from Nassau County, which is the one closer to Queens, and
Mm-hmm.
Statlander being from Suffolk County, which is the one that ironic is where the Hamptons are. We talked about this
Well,
offline a bit, I think.
uh,
So,
Suffolk County is where I'm from,
oh, okay.
so
Well, geographically
yes,
speaking, it's much larger than just the Hamptons.
yes, Suffolk
Okay,
County. Well, both counties are very big.
right.
Uh, but yes, the Hamptons is part of Suffolk County, uh, I believe. Um,
Yes, yeah. So yeah, this was being billed as sort of the Battle of LI, and
hmm
I don't know. As an outsider, I didn't really understand it that much. But
Well,
what I
yeah,
saw was
if you're
yeah,
not from Long Island, you're probably not going to get that. I guess it was good that Taz was on commentary to explain this
right,
because not everybody watching this show is from Long Island.
exactly. Anyway,
So
for those of us not from on Long Island, what we did see was this was almost like one of those meat slapping meat matches, but a female version. I found,
yeah,
we got like a big tackle from Willow in the beginning. I think she hit Stat with a power bomb on the ring apron, and then like a top rope
hmm
drop kick.
yeah,
Um, there was an attempt by Willow to do her power bomb, and it's kind of got botched because I think it sort of like she tried to power bomb Chris, and then it led to like a
yeah,
leg drop from Chris, reversed into a leg drop.
hmm
Um, I mean, what we got, well, for me, it was surprising. End was I felt like it was surprising because Willow ended up pinning Chris Statlander, so
yeah.
maybe it's just a sign that they're trying to expand the women's division and finally giving Willow some props, considering she is a very
Well,
high quality
yeah.
worker.
There's also like this weird story going on with Stokely, who he's like trying to manage Chris Statlander, and I don't understand why. But because he was on commentary and he's like doesn't like Willow, he for what I don't know why he doesn't like Willow and why he wants to manage Chris. I don't know. But the story is that he wants to push Chris Statlander to another level and be her manager, and he doesn't like Willow. So because he was out there doing commentary, it was like, oh, okay, Willow's gonna win because he's not gonna like that. Like,
Yeah, I thought he was gonna. I thought actually, in the back of my mind, I was thinking there was a potential kind of heel turn from Chris after losing that match. I thought they were going to do the
I
whole
I
hug it out
guess
in the
they're
ring, and then suddenly there was a blind side from Chris or something. But that
I
didn't
guess
happen.
they might possibly be pushing to that at some point because I think maybe Chris is going to lose a lot of matches or something. Uh, I mean, they had a tag match on Rampage that they won, I believe, but um,
They
yeah,
did. They did.
yeah. So I honestly don't know where this is going, and it's weird.
Yeah, to be honest,
And
yeah,
they could have had a better match.
yeah. I mean, I wish there was something that I could say positively about this, but for now, I'm just kind of leaving this up in the air
Yeah.
because all three people involved they're not, there's nothing really connecting me. Yeah, sure, Chris and Willow are friends, but that was
Mm-hmm.
established like even before this, and then Stokely's insertion is just kind of odd. Like, I'm not saying eventually it will turn into something that we can connect with, but right now it's just kind of a very odd pairing between the three.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Next we got it's not a match, but it's a short video of a returning women's wrestler, Serena Deeb. She made
Mm-hmm.
a vignette saying she's gonna come back. I think I couldn't remember exactly what she said, but it was
Yeah.
just showing her in the gym training and like beating people up and saying that she's gonna come back and like
Mm-hmm.
well ass, which very happy and excited to see where that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think we also saw her subsequently in Ring of Honor, maybe before this, or maybe after. Maybe yeah, it was
Well,
before. Maybe
she
it's maybe
hasn't she hasn't appeared on TV since October of 2022.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time, and I think she was dealing with some medical issues. That's why she was out. Um, but yeah, I'm super excited for her to be back because she's one of those people that is just so good in the ring. She's basically a female Bryan Danielson, and that's
Right.
why that's why I love her.
I mean, if somebody out there in their AEW figures out that is a good way to book her, I think they could have a lot of really good matches and have somebody push
Yeah.
to a very high level. Next is the Battle Royal for the contract for a TNT title shot anytime, anywhere. Um, as soon as they confirmed
They,
that Luchasaurus slash Kill Switch was in this match, I was
they
pretty sure.
telegraph this so hard because of who is in this match.
Yeah. So Lance Archer was in this match. I just found it very funny that they had to mention Lance's. The last time that Lance won a battle royal was in 2020, and that was like the comment they put on his name when he walked
Mm-hmm.
out to the ring. Um,
Yeah.
for starters, Kill Switch and Lance didn't actually make it in the ring when this match started. They got jumped by all 18 other guys, and then got
Mm-hmm.
buried under a mountain of just tables. And
Yeah.
then for most of the match, they just laid
Laid
there.
on the ground.
And then
Yeah.
I'm just watching this whole thing, waiting. Okay, when are these two gonna get back in the ring and start cleaning house? Because
Of course.
yeah, I'm not seeing a lot going
And
on here.
like to put this into context, the list of people in this match: Serpentico, Dalton
Mhm.
Castle,
Yep.
Johnny TV, Lee Johnson, Angelo Parker, Alex Reynolds, John Silver, Kip Sabian, Brian Keith, who doesn't work there, Matt Menard, Christopher Daniels, Rocky Romero, Darius Martin, Action Andretti, The Blade, The Butcher, Lance Archer, Danhausen, Trent Beretta. So, out of all of those people, other than Luchasaurus, the only person that would be considered possibly is Trent Beretta because he's been having big matches recently. He had a good match against Shingo Takagi not too long ago. Um, but yeah, all of these people are either in a tag team, don't work there, uh, or are are exclusively on ROH and nothing else. So
Yeah, it was kind of easy to figure out who was eventually going to win this. So why don't we just skip to the part where Lance and Luchasaurus finally emerge from the rubble? Lance comes in, does the big man spot where he's just like throwing guys out, throwing a bunch of guys out. Um, then he gets into a weird stare down with Action Andretti, and Action Andretti has been doing this spot where he's shoves an entire bottle of plastic water bottle into his mouth, like drinks it like he was drinking, like he drinks it like he was drinking a shot of vodka or something. It was
uh-huh.
I
It's
understand
hilarious.
I understand this is some kind of weird millennial TikTok trend. Good for
Mm.
him trying to bring it to mainstream TV, but that was just odd.
It's
I don't know.
hilarious.
I don't know if this was like his version of Danhausen's curse, where he thinks it's gonna do something. Obviously, didn't do anything.
It's gonna give him more energy.
Yeah, I guess it's like
he's getting hydrated.
yeah. Well, I would be more impressed if this was like a can of spinach or something. And then
That
like
would be that would be
why
that would
don't
be
they think of
messier.
doing something with Action where they give him like the Popeye the Sailor gimmick and then make
Yeah,
him
no.
drink like eat a whole can of spinach and then that's how he powers up in the match.
That's how you
Um,
really lose. That's how you really lose Gen
that's
Z.
that's some bullshit 1990s trope that the WWF would have, right?
Gen Z would have no idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Anyway, go back and look up 1990s WWE gimmicks. You guys will get a hoot over that.
Oh yeah.
The only other thing that was interesting besides Kill Switch and Lance finishing up the match was Trent Beretta. He was
Mm-hmm.
working with Danhausen for most of the match, and
Mm-hmm.
then after they hug it out in the ring, Trent turns around and throws Danhausen out of the ring and eliminates his friend.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's trying to be a
Trying
singles
to
guy
win
right
that.
now
Yeah, exactly.
because Chuck Taylor's hurt.
Yeah.
So, like, he's not teaming with Danhausen. Danhausen's just kind of around because of Orange Cassidy. I don't know if Trent Beretta and Danhausen are actually friends.
Well,
I think,
apparently Danhausen thinks Trent is his friend because Trent
yeah.
subsequently had a match on Dynamite after Worlds End, in which it was a fatal four-way with Brian Keefe, Brian
Mm-hmm.
Cage, and uh, I believe it was Vikingo, and the winner would get a shot at the Continental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Trent actually won that match, and Danhausen was weirdly sitting at ringside, like behind the barrier. And then at one
Mm-hmm.
point, he came out and helped out Trent again. So it seems that all is forgiven for elimination from the Battle Royal.
Uh,
So
I don't know.
maybe I don't
I don't
know.
know
I
where
maybe
I don't know where
so
this is
far.
going.
But so the only thing I know it was going was after Trent betrayed Danhausen, Killswitch throws out Trent and won the match. So
Yes,
that was unexpected. That was pretty much
and
expected. So
also telegraph something that we're going to talk about later.
yes, which is like eye-rollingly stupid, but anyway.
Yes.
Um, main of I guess the final match, title match at the 0 hour was Wheeler Yuta versus Hook for the
Mm-hmm.
FTW Championship. Um, funny enough, Yuta comes in first as he's the challenger. He's cutting a promo in the ring, and then some odd reason, what I understand is the New York Islanders horn went off
Uh
in
huh.
the arena to
Yeah.
stop, I guess, Yuta from talking, and
Yeah.
then Hook comes out, which I guess
The
was the
Islanders
plan.
no longer play in this building.
I guess they
Yeah.
forgot to take the horn out, but
Yes.
yeah, so this was a typical FTW match with FTW rules, which is basically no rules because every kind of foreign object was used: stop
Mm-hmm.
signs, garbage cans, 2x4s. Not any. Trying to remember if there were any memorable spots in this match that I could remember. The only thing I am aware of was the hockey stick that was brought in, which is very apropos. Hook,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, was decked out in long New York Islanders colors of,
Yeah.
I guess, blue and white. So he broke a hockey stick on Yuta,
He
and
wasn't
then
supposed to break.
which wasn't supposed to break, I guess. So he used the broken piece of the stick to tap out Yuta for the win via the Red Rum, and
Yeah.
not an unexpected win there for
Yeah. And not a lot of big spots, really. I mean, I don't understand what's going on with Hook, honestly, because he's been in like this role for like 2 years now, and he he should be past this, honestly. And like this feud kind of just happened out of nowhere because um Wheeler Yuta was just like in the background for Hook being involved with the best friends,
yeah.
and he already has a title. So like why does he want that one? And
I don't know. I thought like the idea I had was that if like Yuta won the FTW title, he was gonna unify it to the Ring of Honor Pure Championship or something. But
yeah,
that was kind of off a
uh,
bit out there.
and
My Yeah,
they still haven't given a reason why anybody would want the FTW title.
yeah. I
Like,
mean, like Hook won this thing like a year ago, and then other than about a short like month and a half reign from Jungle Boy, who was like started feuding with Hook around
mm-hmm,
Forbidden Door last year, and
mm-hmm,
then Jungle Boy won the title off Hook, and then Hook just came right back and beat him for it again. So would have been
yeah,
more interesting if Jungle Boy retained it and then Hook moved on to other things like the Ring of Honor Pure title. Like this was interesting to me that this match was actually for the Ring of Honor Pure title because we could have had a title change in Hook's backyard in Long Island. That would have been a good pop for the pre-show before heading into
yeah,
the main pay-per-view.
yeah.
But
So I hope that this feud isn't continuing. I think it was fine for what it was. The match was fun, because Long Island and Taz, but
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Anyway, let's go on into the main pay-per-view here. We're gonna start off with the 8-man tag match for all the unsuccessful participants of the Continental Classic. So,
Except for Swerve.
except for Swerve, except for Andrade, which we'll get into
Yeah.
later, but this was involved basically Claudio, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Garcia, and the final guy was actually I have it.
Moxley.
No, Moxley was in the
Oh
final
no,
match.
Moxley's in another match. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it was Claudio,
Uh,
Bryan Danielson, Mark Briscoe, and Daniel Garcia.
yes, that's
They
correct.
saw if they defeated Jay Lethal, Brody King, Jay White, and Roosh.
Mm-hmm.
I had to like laugh out loud at Nigel's opening remarks on Bryan Danielson when he walked in. It was like I didn't write it down exactly, but I was just lolling the entire time about it was like just such a exquisite description of the brittle clam digger from Seattle who is like an absolute he just I mean this whole trend of like Nigel just denigrating Danielson the entire time. I'm really curious if this is Brian's last year in wrestling, if there's going to be a match with Nigel at some point, because it's just
Well,
eventually it's going to happen. It's probably going to be end up like some kind of comedy match at this point because of all the
no, I
you
don't
know,
know about that. I think if I guess it depends on where they do it.
yeah.
Because I think if they do it at All In, for example, it's going to be
Okay, it's going to be a little
if,
more serious than that if it's at All In then.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't think Nigel will come out of retirement for like one time only to face his probably his biggest rival ever in the biggest show of the year and not want to have like a classic.
Yeah. They had Daddy Magic as a guest commentary, which feeds in well to the finish of the match.
He's been doing that
Yeah.
for all of Daniel Garcia's matches.
He should replace Chris Jericho on Rampage if they do need like a third color commentator at some point, because um I think Jericho isn't as suited to commentary desk as many people think.
I
Um
agree.
my guess is as to why this match first was taking place first on the card was that probably Brian and Claudio had a flight to catch because they had to go to Japan for Wrestle Kingdom after this.
Well, I don't know if Claudia was there.
Maybe not, but I think the match took place first. But you know what? I'm not sure if that observation was correct either, because Brian will still be around closer to the end of the show, as we'll mention
Yeah,
later.
I think it was more so just to have a big high energy
Yeah, it was high energy. A lot of like
exciting match at the start of the
yeah,
show.
a lot of exciting spots. The ones I remembered were Claudio managed to suplex Brody King, and also I think at one point managed to do the swing on him
Mm-hmm.
for maybe 10 times or so. Um,
So
match ended.
there was a lot going back to the tournament, and
Yeah,
like Daniel Garcia and Brody King actually had like a nice little like stare down because Daniel Garcia was the one who eliminated him, got his only win against Brody King, which nobody saw coming really. But it was like a nice little like Cinderella story slash playing spoiler thing for Daniel Garcia to like at least get one win when he lost to everybody else, and to ruin Brody King's shot at being in the finals. Um, so they had like a little showdown in the ring, and then you had like all these people that like were in different leagues that didn't face each other, like Jay White and Danielson, and um, yeah, this match was, I thought, very fun to start the show.
yeah. We ended with the match ended with Daniel Garcia getting the pin on Jay Lethal. This would of course lead to this is a bit of a push for Daniel Garcia. At the end of the match, you got a bit of an acknowledgement almost from Brian Danielson.
Mm-hmm.
Also, kind of like a throwback to like what could have been if Daniel Garcia was actually going to join the Blackpool Combat Club at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, had Mark Briscoe playing a bit of a peacemaker at the end there. Um, Jay Lethal continues his losing streak, which I think is going to eventually lead to, because afterwards Sanjay Dutt came out and tried to like just get Lethal to the back after he looked visibly frustrated, and
Yeah.
then subsequently we will see that Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett are having some tensions in the back, and
Yeah.
it
So,
I think eventually that alliance is going to fracture and become a thing of the past.
well, because Jay Lethal spent the entire tournament, uh, whenever he would come out for his matches, looking behind him and being like, "Oh, my friends aren't here." And it wasn't until he like the last like 2 or 3 matches where he didn't do that anymore because he just got tired of like losing. And
Yeah. It's also noted to point out that in the Continental Classic, everyone was banned from ringside, no matter where you're
yeah,
from. So
yes,
he wasn't expecting like Jared and Sanjay to be out there, but they didn't even come out to the entrance ramp and then just like said, "Good luck, buddy," and then walked their
yeah,
back. A lot of the other people had their friends and allies with them doing that. So that was
yeah.
noted.
So I'm hoping that it's leading to him not being with those people anymore. Because really he doesn't need to. Um, but Jeff Jarrett's role on TV should be what he did at this show, which was on the pre-show as a commentator. That's what Jeff Jarrett's role should be in the company. Um, yeah, I am hoping that we're gonna get more of Daniel Garcia and Brian Danielson working together. Maybe this leads to Danielson being the mentor to him that he should have been. Maybe it leads to Daniel Garcia eventually joining Blackpool Combat Club in a like, oh, I made the wrong decision in the past, and I should have joined when you invited me to join, and because I am ready to just be the wrestler that I was meant to be. Um, does that mean that the dance will stop? I don't know. I also don't care, but because they are not a fan of that. When Brian Danielson and Claudio were in the ring and he did the dance with Mark Briscoe, they looked at him like, "Don't do
Like
that."
it'll look like he was crazy, but who
Yeah,
knows? Maybe they'll eventually rub off on them and be interesting. Because like
yeah,
they're not shy from like doing weird dances. I mean, when Claudio and Yuta did their tag run, they when they came out to the entrance ramp, they would do like a crab walk a bit before starting. So that was pretty fun.
hmm,
Anyway, yeah, a lot of interesting spin-off feuds or storylines coming off this tag match. The
yeah,
next one is well, this will end up being a finale for one person. Miro versus Andrade.
hmm,
Um, CJ Perry has returned, and we're glad to see CJ is back on her feet after sustaining a finger infection that almost cost her arm. Good lord! Like
yeah,
apparently all she did was get a splinter on one of her fingers, and it
yep,
just turned into her finger just swelled up to the size of a pickle. And yeah, you warned me not to look at CJ's Instagram for a while, and yeah, I'm actually into like I'm actually okay with looking at graphic stuff, but I would say, wow, whatever happened to her, that was crazy. But
yeah,
yeah, she was out for a few weeks, and very glad to see that she has come back out. She's been
hmm,
the on-screen manager for Andrade for most of the time, but and of course this is the usual trope of the jealous husband
yeah.
of the wife
The
like managing another man. So
So CJ and Miro have a history of this,
yes.
of them having on-screen issues, but on social media they're in love and they're taking care of each other, and
Yeah.
because they are in love. They are married. They're not really. They don't really hate each other.
Yeah, I
They
mean, it should be noticeable. I mean, they got into trouble when they were back in WWE for this. It was just
well,
because
because they were doing a Dolph Ziggler angle, and then they got engaged.
yeah, and they're like, whoops, and then they're like, you guys, like, well, you just threw out like 4 weeks of a storyline work. What are we gonna do? So they had to like rewrite
Yeah.
the script and all. But
So
at least in
yeah,
this company, people are a little more smarter and aware of this. So
yeah, but I feel like they kind of like just do this on their own and don't even think about how it
yeah,
affects the
you
television.
mentioned how this is like, yeah, this is all storyline, right? Miro jumped Andrade in the match before like Andrade was able to take his coat off. But during the match, what I noticed was that CJ and Miro, when they like made eye contact, they started arguing with each other, but in almost like a fake version of a husband and wife arguing. And it was like, I look at this,
Yeah.
I'm like, what are they arguing about? I'm not finding this believable.
Well, the storyline was that the whole time that Miro was in AEW, he, I mean, after the whole Kip Sabian stuff, um, denounced his wife and denounced his god,
Right?
and when she came to AEW, and he was surprised to see her because of said denouncing, um, that she was just trying to prove herself and uh, without him, and um, that was kind of ridiculous because
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm looking at this like fake argument they were having during this match, and it looked as equally ridiculous. It was just like I don't believe they're really actually mad at each other. It just looks so scripted.
she was yelling about her finger.
Which why would that be Miro's fault? First of all, like someone
Yeah,
yes, Splinter. Like it's not like your husband like threw your finger into a pile of wood or something.
yeah. So this match was fine. Um, I would say the downward spiral of the show started sometime after this match because this match was good for what it was and it did what it was supposed to because as you mentioned this would end up being Andrade's final match in AEW, which was reported sometime right before this match took place.
Yeah,
So people were not uh picking Andrade to win solely for that reason. Um, and yeah, that would come into play.
I mean the match. I mean what we got was a. If you thought the middle of the match where they were arguing a stranger, the way the match ended was that CJ actually turned on Andrade. I think she prevented him from getting a pin on
No,
Miro or trip.
he
Oh no
was
no.
doing the
Andrade had the figure eight locked in, but then
yeah
CJ tripped up Andrade and made him break the hold. So
yeah
that was threw him off, and then at that point Miro managed to counter and then put Andrade in his camel clutch for the win. And
yeah
then
the game over.
yeah, and then instead of like acting as though they've reconciled, Miro was still looking at his wife like, what was up
So
with that?
so she was acting like she is now managing him, and he is acting like what just happened.
Yeah. So
But
another
yeah,
strange spin-off that
they
we
are married in real life. They don't
yeah,
hate each other for real. So it is very odd.
yeah. A lot of like interesting storylines from Miro in the last couple of months. The whole thing of Powerhouse House Hobbs kind of like fizzled, and then he was just
Yeah.
doing this thing, like with his wife, and
So
now it's like, what are we doing?
he's only had 10 matches in the last like 2 years.
Hmm.
I don't know why that is. I don't know if they're struggling to find storylines for him. I don't know if he's just not into the things that they're suggesting. I don't know. But I'm hoping that we're going to get a lot more of him. I'm hoping that this means that he's going to be in line for championships because that's the whole reason we wanted Miro to come to AEW, to have a more successful run, because when he was in WWE, they didn't want him to be successful. They
Yeah,
they th- they thought that Rusev Day was a joke. They thought that the fans were making fun of him, and that it wasn't over. It was just something stupid that didn't get over. But the crowd was saying it every single time. So the fact that he's now been in AEW for what 3 to 4 years now, um, and hasn't done what we expected of him. I don't know if this is on him or on creative Tony Khan, but I'm hoping that this is going to lead to more for him.
yeah. The next match is for the AEW Women's World Championship. Timeless Tony Storm defending against Riho. The outcome was not that much of a surprise.
No,
No. There were the only interesting spots I saw was Luther, which is Tony's butler, helping her in some parts of the match, whereby Luther just picks up Tony and, for example, would like swing her around so Tony's feet would like hit Rio in the face or something to that effect. Um, Finally, at one point, this was picked up by a referee, but the referee and like he kicked him out of the match. But yeah, overall the match finished with Tony getting the pin, and then afterwards, Tony's fan Mariah May came out and showered her with rose petals from a bucket.
yes.
So, um,
Um, so the move she did to finish this match was something that she hasn't done in a while. I think
yeah, that is the one thing I
she
remember.
did it in NXT for a little while, and then it stopped because she did the Storm Zero in this match, but it resulted in a kick out.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was like a backbreaker that was swung into a DDT. Like kind of, like
Yeah, yeah,
she had Riho on her back, like back to back, like in like a weird like Argentine like scenario, and then swung her into a DDT. It didn't look as fluent, I think, as they wanted, but it was still a pretty cool move.
yeah. It was pretty cool. If this is like a new move, then I'm always a fan of like a new
Yeah,
move.
I mean, I'm hoping that
Because
she's.
the Storm Zero, like her original Storm Zero, I liked. This new version is just a really short like pile driver. It looks
Well,
so
yeah,
glitchy. So
it's a short pile driver, which is fine. She used to
doesn't
do
look
the.
as but it doesn't look as impactful as that
I
DDT
mean,
thing she was doing.
she used to do a Tiger Bomb
Yeah,
instead of
that's
this,
what it
but
was. Yeah.
um, yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping that So I guess we could talk about what happened on Dynamite. Um, Mariah May had her debut
Mm-hmm.
in a very good match, which is not surprising because Mariah May is actually very good at wrestling, despite only being in it for a year. Um, Again, she had a great match against Queen Aminata. I recommend it if you haven't seen it. And after the match, she was interviewed by Renee,
Mm-hmm.
and this show is in New Jersey,
Yep.
and she talked about being very happy about her debut. Unfortunately, hated that it had to happen in New Jersey, which prompted the debut of the virtuosa Diana Perrazzo, which had been reported for quite a while that could possibly be happening. Um, Diana wanted to be in AEW. She was ready for a bigger audience. She was ready for more money. Uh, so she comes out and tells Mariah May to let Tony Storm know that she is coming for her, and Mariah May does the she goes, "Well, I'm not the messenger, so tell her yourself, bitch."
After the whole time where you just played up how you're like Tony Storm's #1 fan and you're like hanging around her all the time, like why would you not want to do that? Like
Well,
now you're acting like
because they had to play up that she's gonna attack her. So yeah, she slaps Deanna in the face. Deanna slaps her back and then hits a big boot. And yeah, so Deanna Purrazzo is in AEW. She is all elite. She's coming for Tony Storm, which I love because Deanna Purrazzo is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And I'm happy that Mariah May is now wrestling. Um, so yeah, I think this was all a wins all around, and we'll see where this is going.
yep. Next match is, well, unfortunately, this happened because Keith Lee was unable to be medically cleared. It
This
is
is
originally
yeah,
originally slated to be Swerve Strickland versus Keith Lee in a match to finally settle a feud they had a year or so ago. This was a last minute replacement for Keith Lee. Dustin Rhodes, or I don't know. I just wrote down Swerve versus Goldust as a joke, but yeah, it was Swerve versus Dustin Rhodes. Not to disparage Dustin Rhodes, he's a great veteran. Has been in this business for like close to 40 some years now.
mm-hmm.
I was not expecting anything surprising here. I don't think this match actually ended decisively. What I recall was that Swerve took out a cinder block and stomped it through Dustin Rhodes' ankle.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that was before the match, and they
yeah,
played
so
up they played up that he was hurt and that he was going to not be able to compete, and
yes,
they played this up for a very long time,
yeah, before Dustin
and
actually went back in the ring, and
and
so we actually had a match. Yes, now
the problem with that is, and this is kind of one of those matches that I was talking about that was just not needed at all and didn't go great. The problem with the way they played up the ankle before the match started was that at some point he was wrestling like he was not injured.
yeah, because at that point you're like, how is this man still standing up, right? So
Yes, because
that was frustrating.
he was like limping a lot and like walking up the ramp slowly, being helped by two people, and then he just decides randomly, like halfway up the ramp, "Oh, I'm gonna have the match," and the match starts, and he's like not able to walk or anything. But at some point, like a couple minutes in, "Oh, I'm just gonna do a Canadian Destroyer. Oh, I'm just gonna do the Shattered Dreams, which involves running. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
like." None of this was needed. And there are other people on the roster. Again, nothing against Dustin Rhodes, like you said, he's a legend, but you could have had a different match. You could have had him against anybody, literally anybody, and had a classic.
I think the
Instead,
way they tried to spin this was
I,
that Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes are tag team partners.
I get it was a storyline thing. I get that. I just wasn't a fan of this because it was a waste of 10 minutes. That's all this was. A waste of 10 minutes. And I sure Swerve looks dominant in the thing and Swerve is going to continue to go up. He wants the world title, all that. And Keith has unfortunately been dealing with an injury since September of 2022. And um hopefully he'll be okay and able to come back and people can stop saying that he should have went back to WWE because that will never end. But yeah, I really hope that we get to have this match at some point because they've never had a singles match. And what was the build to this,
Yeah.
for them to finally have the singles match. But Swerve is, like I said, looking for the world title. But in the meantime, he's going to have the third match against Hangman. So, Hangman appeared on Dynamite randomly during a Matt Menard interview, looking all disheveled and full bearded and angry, and saying that he was gonna come for Samoa Joe or the Devils. And Swerve had an amazing match with Daniel Garcia as the main event of Dynamite, and just randomly out of nowhere, after he had already mentioned that he was coming for either Samoa Joe or the Devils, Hangman Page comes out and just starts a giant brawl with Swerve.
This is like
So,
the Family Guy Peter Griffin versus the chicken. Every time these two
yes.
get into a room, they're just gonna start fighting. So
Yeah, and I mean, Swerve did that promo after the Texas Death Match where he said that they better be done, or Swerve was going to kill him. So,
yeah.
uh, so what kind of match could they possibly have after having that amazing Texas Death Match that we both ranked number 5 in our top 5 matches of the year?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to top that. It's like it would have to be like an exploding barbed wire death inferno match or something like crazy
Oh
like that.
God, oh God! I think you just
uh,
said it.
oh boy.
Exploding barbed wire match. Hopefully, it doesn't go as badly as the last one.
Yeah, maybe they should look into fixing the final explosion.
Or better idea, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Anyway,
So yeah, we'll see where this is going. Obviously, there's really no point in having this third match since Swerve has won both times. But I get that Hangman probably just wants to get a win back on Swerve and get revenge for everything. So I guess that's fine, even though the promo he cut earlier made 0 sense.
yeah. Speaking of pointless matches that probably aren't needed, the next match on the card was the 8-man tag match between
Oh
Sting,
boy.
Darby Allin, Chris Jericho, and Sammy Guevara versus Ricky Starks, Big Bill, and members of the Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita, and Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah.
Let me just preface by saying this. Everything that has been said are allegations at this point. There are
Yes.
nothing confirmed that has
And
happened.
we don't need to go into it. Everybody kind of knows what's going on. So, but
Yeah,
what
but
but
the
it
but
played into the
played it
match big
very
time.
played very well into the match. Jericho came out. He came out to Judas after people finished singing along. Everything Jericho did going forward, he was booed at
Yep.
massively. It was
Yes.
almost watching. It was like a bizarre world. I was almost watching as though it was like Ricky Starks and Big Bill and the Don Callis guys were the faces, and it was like, Sting, Darby, and Sammy were still face, but then when Jericho came in, he was the heel. To the point where Ricky Starks and Jericho faced off, and then Ricky just outright just gives him the middle finger. And that got way more cheers than anything I think anybody else did in the match, subsequently speaking, because I think, all those stuff that was Jericho has been accused of has been overshadowed, I think, this whole
Yes.
match.
Well,
You know,
and we could talk about, like, so the storyline of this match really just makes 0
yeah.
sense.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Obviously, this was supposed to be Kenny and Jericho
Hmm.
facing off against the tag champs for the tag team titles, and Darby was supposed to be climbing Mount Everest. I don't know what happened to that.
I think he
And
already did.
well,
Didn't he?
I don't recall seeing any pictures or anything, so I don't know. Um, and the fact that so Chris Jericho stated that he was still going to be coming for the tag titles, right? So we immediately assume, okay, he's going to have a different partner. Who's it going to be? Hopefully not Big Show. Paul White. So the Don Callis family does like this Boxing Day Canada thing in the ring where they just reveal a bunch of paintings. And Sammy Guevara comes out, who has been dealing with injury on top of his wife having a baby. Congratulations to them. So he comes out and he says that Don Callis has not called him in over a month. And that I thought that this was supposed to be a family and all this stupid BS. And Don Callis reveals another painting of Sammy Guevara holding his baby while the Don Callis family is in the background.
By the way, these are incredibly beautiful paintings done by artist Mel Coleman. If you look her
Yes.
up on Instagram, she did all the paintings for Don during his run with Kenny, and I think during
Yes.
his now run with Takeshita and
Yes.
Hobbs.
Great
These are
paintings.
beautiful paintings, especially the one
So
with Sammy and his
the
baby.
the problem is that Sammy should not be angry about this painting. He should love it. He honestly. Um so the fact that he was upset about it made zero sense. And then he just decides that he's no longer part of the Callis family and tries to attack Don Callis, which results in Kyle Fletcher, Will Hobbs, and Konosuke Takeshita to beat up Sammy, which then prompts randomly out of nowhere Chris Jericho to make the save for no reason. When these two had feuded, they had matches against each other, they hated each other, blah blah blah. But commentary says, "Oh well, Jericho did call Sammy when they had the baby, and Jericho did call Sammy when he got hurt, so he really does care about Sammy." Can we get away from this? Like, can we stop just putting Sammy Guevara back in the same role he's been doing for the last 4 years?
Yeah, the point was his heel turn was to get him away from Chris Jericho, and now you've just rehashed the old script again. By the way, subsequently from that like thing where Jericho came back and helped out Sammy, and then they were still outnumbered by Don Callis' guys. Sting and Darby came in to make the save. You mentioned Darby was supposed to be climbing Mount Everest. I'm saying he did because the jacket that Darby was wearing looked like Mount Everest. He came back in. It
I
was
don't
like this
know.
white. It was like this white thing with like dark streaks, and it was like it looked like he brought Mount Everest with him.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
don't know.
so
But
we
this also doesn't make sense because Sting and Darby are not Jericho fans at all after Forbidden Door. So, and there's never been anything on TV to acknowledge that they would want to help these people at all because they have no history with the opposing people at all. So none of this makes sense, and this also prompted the appearance of the tag champs because of Jericho. And so that's how we got this very pointless, unneeded match that was overshadowed by controversy. And I feel bad that this is Sting's last match in New York, and he didn't get the pin.
well, yeah, Sammy got the pin on Ricky, which now will spin off into a singles match on Dynamite, and I guess this plays off on into how because now that Jericho and Sammy have reunited, it apparently the tag team title shot will now go to Jericho and Sammy. So they're playing off on that.
Well, hopefully they don't win.
Yeah, well, I don't think he'll win at this point because do we want to keep Chris Jericho on TV for in the
Well,
foreseeable future
they should have
until they?
they should have did something else and canceled this match. Honestly, um, it doesn't matter really to me if Jericho said, "Oh, I don't care about the booze. I don't care about this." This was not a good idea. everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows that he was going to get the reaction that he did. Honestly, the fact that they still sung the song, but then immediately booed him was weird.
Well, it's like how like controversial character people in like pop culture when they pass away. I don't know. This is a bad example, but like Michael Jackson,
Yeah,
one of the greatest musicians of all time. We know what he did, but you can still like the music. So I think the
yeah,
mentality was, hey, Judas is a really good song. Okay, it's done. Fuck you, Chris.
yeah. I guess so. But again, we still don't know if those allegations are, uh, you know, what they are, and if nothing happened or not. So I get wanting to like still have Jericho on TV because he's Chris Jericho and all that. But yeah, this whole match was overshadowed. Sting being in this match really didn't really play a factor at all. They because Sting didn't factor into the finish, they had Tony Schiavone be like, "Hey, this is Sting's last match in New York. Give it up for Sting." Like, ugh. Just that's all I can say about all of this. Ugh.
Yeah. We'll come up to the close to the end here. So the last four matches we have are title matches. The next
Uh,
one is
yeah.
the next one is for the TBS Championship. Julia Hart defending against Abaddon. This was a house rules match as per the matches, the rules set out by the House of Black. House rules match. The rules are, as I remember them, a 20-second count out, a time count out when you're outside the ring. No rope breaks for submission. So even if you get to the ropes, the submission still applies.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a dealer's choice rule where the opponent or the challenger gets to pick a stipulation. So Abaddon's stipulation was that biting will be legal, which
Mm-hmm.
is like I don't know when biting was never not legal because people bite each
Uh,
other all the time and they get a 5 count or something, but
yeah.
they still
Well,
get the bite in. So
well,
it's a
yeah,
very
because
it's
it's
almost
not
like
legal. That's the point of the
but
count.
it, yeah,
If
but
you
it's
don't,
but it's almost like whether there's a 5 count or whether you're allowed, it's like the effect of it is the same to me. So, but I think it was unique for Abaddon because she's like this strange, spooky person that probably
mm-hmm.
will bite someone's face off. Um,
Yeah. This match was not great.
n- yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was
Um,
not great. I would say the outcome was not that surprising.
yeah,
Um,
but even so, the body of the match was kind of like very slow, very uh it just didn't work. So Julia Hart has been great. We all are aware of that. We all know that. The problem is that Abaddon is not a ring general.
hmm.
So Julia was not in there with somebody that could carry this to a really good match. Because even despite the fact that Julia is very good and getting great at her very young age of 22, um, she's not ready to carry a match. She's not ready to have matches that are not with Chris Statlander or you know, she has to be in there with somebody to carry her to a passable match. I mean, the Statlander match, the triple threat was great because Statlander was in there and Sky Blue is pretty good at this. Um, but yeah, this match was not that. Um, and there was a lot of slow spots, a lot of mistiming. Um, I really like Abaddon. I think they are really good. Um, and I want to see more of them. But um, yeah, I this match wasn't for me.
Yeah, that's fine. But the next match I think was definitely for both of us. It's Christian Cage defending the TNT Championship against Adam Copeland in a no disqualification match.
Well, did you mention that Julia retained with the moonsaults, even though
Oh,
she?
okay, yeah, sorry, yeah, my God, I'm sorry, yeah. Well, as I said, the outcome wasn't surprising. Julia retained the TBS title with the moonsault. Sky Blue did come in to do some
But
interference, but
she kind of overshot it and landed on her knees.
I, I think you know what? Yeah, now that you bring it up, I remember now. She overshot it a bit, and then it almost looked like she missed the landing. But in any
Yeah.
event, she got the
So
pin with that.
commentary tried to save it by saying like, "Oh, this was a variation where she did a knee drop." Like, no,
No, no,
she just overshot it and tried to save it somehow.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, Julia Hart retains the TBS championship. No surprise. Now I mentioned. Now we will go on to the TNT championship match, a no disqualification match between Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, and yeah, this was a hell of a match. What a fucking mess.
But it was
Christian
very
Cage,
fun.
yes, very fun. Christian Cage accompanied by his new family in Mother Wayne, Shayna Wayne, and the prodigy Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne obviously becoming the dastardly little shit that he is. I mean, they did everything in this match. Adam went back and got into that thing where he was taking a piece of metal. This time he didn't break it off a chair. He just found a piece of pipe or something, and then he tried to do the crossface with on Christian, putting the metal over Christian's mouth. Uh, the only thing I remember at this point is the attempts on the flaming table. So they had lighter fluid there, but because it was like really quick combustible lighter fluid, the first time it was lit, the fire went out too quickly. So they had to
Hmm.
relight it. I think the first time Christian and Nick Wayne were trying to light the table, and then it went out. And then there was a counter by Adam, and then Adam squeezed even more lighter fluid, and then relit the table, and then grabbed Nick Wayne, and then powerbomb Nick Wayne through the flaming table. Not exactly through the flaming table, but because I mean, you could say he overshot it, but I think it was for for pragmatic purposes, it was fine because you don't want to put somebody through an actual flaming table and risk like actual burns, right? So he basically powerbombed Nick Wayne onto the floor, and then Nick's lower back caught the edge of the flame. So it was like it had the effect of like showing us, oh, like Nick went through fire, and then he took him out for the rest of the match. And in this point, Adam managed to grab Christian and hit him with the kill switch, which is Christian's finisher,
Hmm.
for the 1, 2, 3. And then Adam Copeland became the new TNT champion. This was a long match. It was 25 minutes long, but we managed to squeeze an extra TNT title match because as Adam was holding the title in triumphant fashion, Luchasaurus comes out and just kind of emerges like that ominous person from the back, and then Luchasaurus attacks Adam Copeland. Um, he's holding the TNT contract that he won earlier in the Battle Royal in his hand, and he was about to hand it off to the referee as is to say, I am cashing in my random ass TNT match. And then Christian intercepts, grabs the contract, and then says, no, no, you got to give it to me. You got to give it to me. And then, like, Luchasaurus is hesitating. He's like, why do I have to give it to you? And at this point, it was like, I totally would understand if Luchasaurus just decks Christian Cage, goes for the pit, finishes off Adam Copeland and walks away with the TNT title.
Hmm.
But then Christian starts whispering some sweet nothings into Luchasaurus' ear. We have no idea what he said to him. Maybe he has some like incriminating photos of Luchasaurus. I don't know. But anyway, at this point, Luchasaurus shamefully hands over the TNT contract to Christian Cage. Christian Cage signs a contract as though it's mine, it's mine. He hands it to the referee. He poses for the spear, goes for the spear on Copeland, who just groggingly gets back up after being destroyed by Luchasaurus. And once again, Christian Cage in an 11-second contest becomes a two-time TNT champion. Adam Copeland has unfortunately become the shortest reigning TNT champion for like the
Mm-hmm.
space of 5 minutes. Um, like I don't know. What did you think of this ending? Like, yes,
Uh,
Mike.
so the match as a whole was very fun, and I loved it.
Yeah,
The first match.
yeah, the first
Um,
match.
the whole cash in thing is kind of apropos, right? Because Adam Copeland has a history of being that person
Mm, yeah,
who cashes in on somebody who just had a match, and to have it happen to him is I don't want to say poetic justice, but I guess you could say that, considering it's his best friend in the world doing it. Um, Luchasaurus just giving it to him really undermines the fact that we had a battle royal, which is just like, well, why even have the battle royal then? Um, I'm I'm expecting that this thing with Luchasaurus is going to, obviously they're building to something, right? They're building to him turning on him. They're building to him getting his name back. They're they're building to him because obviously he's not going to keep that name if he's not with Christian anymore. That's the only reason he has it. Um,
yeah. They're definitely building to something because on Dynamite, Christian came out for his 2024 State of the Union address in which he thanked
mm-hmm.
Mother Wayne, he thanked Nick Wayne, and then he says he was going to thank the man who made it all possible. And you see Luchasaurus kind of like just ramping up, getting ready to be congratulated because like he was the one who gave him the contract, and then Christian Cage congratulates himself. He congratulated himself for becoming a two-time TNT champion, and then there was nothing from Luchasaurus, and you're like, yeah, this is eventually going to lead to something.
Yeah. So also it has been reported that AEW has filed new trademarks. Well, not new trademarks, renewal of old ones, specifically Jurassic Express.
Oh,
Um, does that mean something? I don't know. We haven't seen Jack Perry in a while.
mm-hmm.
Could he come back and just go back to what he was doing in 2019? Very possible.
Well, we have a trend of Sammy Guevara going back and doing the same thing over and over. I mean, Jack Perry's last run as a heel was confusing at best. I mean, he came out, he looked like a badass. He tried to like be an asshole. He came out to Beethoven's Symphony Number 5 because
Which did not fit him at all.
it was like, what the fuck is this? And then, I think it was a blessing in disguise that he got into this backstage altercation with CM Punk and then subsequently getting taken off TV. Maybe it was a time to refresh and rethink about his where he wants to go. And I think, who knows? I mean, you got Christian and Nick Wayne. If you're gonna have Jungle Boy brought back in, there is a history there with Christian Cage. So
Yeah.
um
Um. So I would think that the end game of this is Luchasaurus winning that belt, right?
yeah, becoming a
But
two-time TNT champion himself again.
and actually holding it,
Yes.
because he never actually held the belt after winning it. As soon as he won it, Christian acted like he won it, and then Christian officially won it in that triple threat. So he wasn't even pictured with the belt on his profile when he had the belt. He was not holding it. Christian was holding it. So that has to be where this is going. I hope that we're not waiting until Revolution to do this. I would hope that we do it sooner, but
I don't know. Yeah, it's
um yeah, I don't know, but I'm hopefully Adam Copeland is moving on to other things. It doesn't look like our
yeah.
prediction of of Adam Copeland and Christian retiring Sting is going to happen.
No. At this point, the more logical thing that will happen is Sting versus Darby Allin because
Well, That's
I mean,
probably what should happen, but Sting hasn't had a singles match his entire AEW run,
they
so
they may figure out how to work that in somehow.
yeah,
And
maybe. I would
yeah,
think maybe you have FTR face them. I honestly, because FTR
yeah, maybe.
loves the classic.
Yeah, but I agree that Adam Copeland needs to do something else other than
Yeah,
Christian Cage at this point, because I don't see anything kind of. I mean, as of this recording tonight on Collision, he's gonna respond, or he's gonna say something, I guess, in response to what Christian said. So maybe somebody will come out and like do a run in and like we'll get a spin off into a new feud. Um,
yeah. But yeah, all of this was very fun. I honestly did not. So I saw a lot of people that were upset about the Christian cash-in thing and calling it WWE BS. It was done for a reason. It was done for this Luchasaurus storyline, and it was done for to get like one up on Adam Copeland. So for that reason is why I like it. So I don't understand why people dislike it just because it's something WWE would do. W they the that scenario is just people saying that needs to stop.
and with that, we are going to move on to the finals of the Continental Classic. This has been a month of really amazing wrestling. AEW actually put on their YouTube channel the entire Continental Classic series, so you can watch every match. Uh,
All great
all
matches. Not a bad match throughout the tournament.
Yeah. So the winner of this match, they decided to create a new championship called the Continental Crown. Um, at the beginning of the tournament, Eddie Kingston entered the tournament and said, "I'm going to put my Ring of Honor and New Japan Strong titles on the line as well." So the winner will end up winning all three of them in a modern day Triple Crown that was going to be established. Um, Eddie Kingston was actually a little bit behind in the first a few matches. He was losing a bit, so the points he was gaining, he was like on the verge of elimination, and then he roared back into contention and ended up in the finals of the Blue League with Brian Danielson and defeated him. So he ended up in the finals. Meanwhile, Moxley basically cleared the table and like secured his spot in the Gold League, but then Jay White and Swerve Strickland were the guys that ended up kind of almost tying. So they ended up in a triple threat match.
Mm-hmm.
Moxley predictably won that match because everybody wanted to see Eddie Kingston versus John
Yeah.
Moxley in
So
the shadows of New York City.
this
Um,
was my final. This was my final from the beginning.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I don't really care that people think that is predictable because we've talked about this in the past. Predictable is not bad if it is done right.
right. And
And
this progression was very logical because you
yeah,
had Eddie Kingston, who was chasing after Claudio for the first couple of months of this
mm-hmm,
year. Well, he eventually defeated Claudio for the Ring of Honor World Title, so he got that monkey off his back. Um, Next, he moved on to Brian Danielson, the other guy he couldn't defeat that he had never beaten before. And
yep,
Danielson obviously added fire to the flame by calling him a bum. Eddie Kingston's a bum. He's never going to mount anything. And
he's
Eddie
king of
kind
the
of,
bums.
yeah, he's king of the bums. He's like MJF being the scumbag of the people. And he's now
Yeah,
embraced his identity as the bum, and ended up beating Brian Danielson. So he's beaten two members of the Blackpool Combat Club. Now he's going to move on, and he's going to finally have to defeat his brother. He's never beaten him before, John
yeah,
Moxley. Brian Danielson was on commentary for this match. So, to my earlier prediction of why they had the 8-man tag in the beginning, no, it was not because Danielson had to catch an early flight. Danielson provided very like you know what? If Brian's actually like gonna wind down the wrestling, he could probably be a good commentator in the future because he provided some very good armchair quarterback analysis of all the moves and stuff that
mm-hmm.
both guys were doing. Nigel McGuinness conspicuously was absent from the commentary desk at this time,
Shocking.
probably for shocking. Um, the one thing I noticed was Eddie chopped Mox's forearm so hard Eddie hurt his own arm in the process.
That
And it was like
that's
this was
fitting.
like this was like really just hard
Yeah,
hitting stuff back and
I
forth.
I
But
absolutely
yeah,
love this match.
yeah. I
Love it.
mean,
This was
yeah,
my match of the night. It was exactly what I expected. Two guys who are best friends that are just going at each other back and forth, hitting each other really hard. And I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Best friends in real life always tend to have the best matches because they know that they have chemistry already. So they just go out there and kill it. And that's what they did. Um, yeah, I loved that this whole tournament was basically a vehicle for Eddie Kingston to topple all of his uh demons. Basically, he beat Claudio again. He finally beat Brian Danielson after the last year of not being able to, and yeah, as you mentioned, all of that was great, and we got all these great matches in the meantime, and yeah, uh, AEW has mentioned that Tony Khan in particular has mentioned that they're going to be going back to more of a sports feel, more of a wrestling feel, which is exactly what I want. So I'm looking forward to what's
yeah.
gonna
I I
happen.
I love the ending of the match. They basically were like butting heads, and then they just started a slap fest. And then the commentators were you don't want to get into like a fist fight with Moxley and that sort of thing. But they just
Yeah.
did a whole sequence of slap, 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 and then out of nowhere, Eddie just spun around and did his hurricane, knocks
Mm-hmm.
Moxley on his ass, and then
Yep.
1, 2, 3, and it was like, oh, the pin, oh, there's it, that's it.
Yep.
I thought the ending was just so quick. It was just like that. It was like it's over.
Yeah. I love this match so much, and Danielson going out of his way to mention that um, Eddie Kingston has some of the hardest punches
Yeah,
in wrestling. Like he hits harder even than I do. Uh, in particular, Danielson talking about himself. So yeah, I thought that made the match even better. That helped the match, and yeah, it was just such a good match.
yeah. And the sort of like emotional post match stuff was really good. Eddie, they gave him his 2 titles back, and then they brought in a new one that was still covered in velvet.
Mm-hmm.
Remsburg, who's
They
Bryce
they
Remsburg.
they showed
Bryce
what it
Rems
looked like.
Yeah, they
They
showed
showed
what it looked like in the graphic, and then
yeah.
they unveiled the actual thing. And then Bryce Remsburg, who has been a longtime friend of Eddie Kingston as well, when he unveils the title, and he's like laughing because the title has a crown on it, so he's like,
Uh huh.
it's almost fitting, right? It was almost like they literally made it for him.
Yeah.
Eddie's holding up the titles. Moxley finally gets back up after getting knocked loopy, and then they looked at each other, and then Moxley's like, "Yeah, bring it in." And then they start
Yeah.
hugging.
Yep.
Um, Very
So
touching, and like
so
I just looked at it.
commentary
Yeah.
commentary was very confused about what this actually means.
Okay. Yeah. So let's go into like how is this defended going forward? Because
Yes.
I actually went on the the post AEW Dynamite show review that Fightful Select does, and I posed a
Mm-hmm.
question: how is the Continental Crown going to be defended? Is it like whoever gets the title shot, are they going for all 3 titles? Because I heard like RJ City of all people mentioned that yeah, each title is going to be defended separately,
But
and then
commentary said the opposite.
and then the guys on Fightful, they're like, oh, we don't fucking know, we have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
So, but I saw a subsequent tweet from a challenger from New Japan. I think it was Gabriel Kidd or one of the
Mm-hmm.
Bullet Club guys challenging Eddie Kingston for. He said, "I'm challenging you for just a strong open weight title." And I'm like, okay, so apparently, if it's the New Japan title, it can still be defended by in the New Japan setting, and then
So the way I look at it is,
yeah,
if you're challenging for the Continental Crown, then everything's on the line. But if you're
Mhm.
challenging for the ROH title or the strong title, then just that title's on the line.
I think that would make it much more interesting than just having all three titles on the line at the same time. Because I
Yeah.
guess my line of questioning to those guys was going forward, the Continental Classic will have all three titles in the mix on the line. Whoever wins the tournament will be crowned a new champion. Doesn't necessarily have to mean that one guy was holding all three titles going into the tournament. So
Mm-hmm.
whoever has the titles, they will automatically be entered in the tournament. So let's say if
Yeah.
Eddie by the next year, Eddie is just holding the Continental Crown title. Maybe the New Japan title uh, got taken off him by some guy in New Japan, and maybe the Ring of Honor title got taken off by someone else in AEW or Ring of Honor. So if that happens, all three of those guys will be in the tournament. How about that? And then
Yeah.
whoever gets added, and then whatever happens in the tournament, the winner will become the Continental Crown again, and then it'll
Yeah.
start the whole process all over again. So I think that's the most logical way to go about this.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
that makes sense, I guess. I think Tony Khan should just do like a small little video or something
something to
explaining
explain the
all
whole
of it.
thing.
Like, because I think like what you said and what I said kind of makes the most sense. Continental Crown Challenge means all belts on the line. ROH
Right.
Challenge means ROH title on the line and not the other two. That's
Yeah.
I think that's what makes the most sense, but not everybody's going to come to that conclusion.
So yeah, so Eddie is actually scheduled on Collision to defend against Trent Beretta.
Yes, he won.
In
He
the
won the
and
aforementioned
yeah,
Fatal
yeah,
Four
and
Way
in the
that you talked about
graphic
earlier.
they mentioned in the graphic they showed only the Continental title. So I think maybe that match is actually just for the Continental title. I could be wrong by this recording, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
we have no idea.
Yeah, well, hopefully if AEW is out there listening, somebody there will figure this out and post some kind of like clarification video or whatever.
Yes.
You know. Okay, let's move on to the final match of the evening. This was the AEW World Title between champion MJF defending against Samoa Joe. MJF is already the
Hmm.
longest reigning AEW World Champion. As of this title defense, he has held the title for over 400 days. So, being from Long Island, there was obviously going to be some kind of special Long Island ring entrance for MJF. So,
Yes.
I don't know if you can like help clarify this. So they played this
Yes.
video
So
where you
so
got
this
residents from Long
video,
Island. Yeah.
yes. So this video is, um, I guess an homage to Long Island commercials. They have like commercials like this, like, oh, why you should come to Long Island, or why Long Island is great, or why you should go to Port Jefferson, or whatever, something like that. Um, so that's what this was. This was like a Long Island style commercial talking about MJF.
Yeah, so what we got was a mix of like I guess Long Island residents, ranging from a hot chick in
Mm-hmm.
like a really like revealing, well, sort of like hot dress, to like basically your typical Long Island aunt or whatever, to like a guy in the gym, to guys from Creative Pro Wrestling who were training, to like the
Yes.
pizza guy at I don't know what this pizza place was, to
Uh
a
huh.
guy who was like, I am not putting on this Burberry scarf, to like two guys in Burberry
That
scarves
uh,
that looked like gangsters that were about to.
that is not a thing that happens. Just so
So okay,
everybody knows, that is not a thing that happens.
all right. So thank you for clarifying. Because if I ever wanted to visit Long Island and I didn't want to do a thing on camera, I can be assured I'm not going to be wailed on by two really big guys with baseball bats.
Just because you didn't want to say something that you didn't feel like saying.
I will say the food looked pretty good, and the hot
Well,
chick at one point basically said, "One time, me and Max were doing it in his van for like 5 hours," and she said a whole bunch of stuff that was bleeped out, and I don't even know what she really said,
uh,
but apparently the audience, live audience, knew. So,
who knows?
basically
Who
the video
knows?
and basically the video ended with everybody saying, I love Long Island and then putting on their own Burberry scarf.
Yes, he's our scumbag.
Yep. Oh yeah, he's our scumbag. And MJF came out to a hero's welcome. And then there was a long pause where MJF is just sitting on the turnbuckle. We were like wondering what he's doing, and then he starts pointing to the entrance ramp, and then Adam Cole's music plays, and Adam
Yes.
is now hobbling to the ring, still on crutches. We're in complete black, and I think we
Yes,
all knew
so
what was going to
kind
happen
of
eventually.
also shaved. So that also was
Oh
kind of
yes, yes, I noticed he
also
shaved his beard.
kind of telegraphed with that. But
Okay.
yes, we'll talk about that when we get to the ending. But um yeah, I it's crazy. Stop me. It's crazy. If you just have a match, it's a good match. Holy cow.
Yeah, this match was pretty like hard. Like there was just Max like did a bunch of tried to do a bunch of spots, but
I feel really
obviously
bad for
he's
Jay White. I feel really bad for Jay White.
anyway, like Joe did Joe. I like how Joe took the offense in the beginning. He did a series of suplex sequences. He did a German, he did a dragon suplex, and then he like kind of put Max in a straight jacket pose, and then like did a German suplex. Um, then he hit him with a muscle buster on the ring apron, and then I thought, oh my god. Why is he taking these bumps with a bum shoulder at this point? It was just pretty ouch at the here. And then he also did like a leg drop on MJF's arm. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then a senton on the arm. And then they did a bit where Max tried to reverse and try to like damage Joe's arm when he did a top rope stomp on Joe's arm. Um, at one point, actually, Max had before tried to hit the suicide dive, but then like Joe
Yeah.
like countered it with a kick or something. Um, Max managed to hit a heat seeker for a 2 count, and then he tried to hit another heat seeker, but then got reversed into a sunset flip attempt, and that didn't work out. Um, I think Max at one point managed to reverse and hook in the armbar, and then but Joe reversed it and put in his own armbar.
Mm-hmm.
And then oh yes, here's a big, I guess the final spot.
The best spot of the match.
Yeah, well, not maybe not this one, but
Oh, okay.
Remsburg got put in the corner, and then Max kind of just backed Joe into the corner with the referee. Referee's knocked out, and then apparently at this point was thinking MJF thinking of shenanigans. He's like calling Adam Cole, his buddy, for the Dynamite Diamond ring.
Did you mention the muscle buster on the apron?
I did mention that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I must have.
Yeah, he hit I mentioned muscle buster on the ring apron.
Okay,
like, oh my god.
I don't know why I thought that you didn't say it. My mistake.
Yeah, so referees knocked out. Max pushed Joe. Yeah, after Max pushed Joe into the corner, Max was like asking Adam for the Dynamite Diamond ring, and then Adam was like, "Oh, I can't find it. I can't find it for the longest time." And then finally he pulls it out. I'm not sure. I don't think he managed to get the chance to use it because Joe tried to counter, and then
No.
yeah, Joe got on the top turnbuckle, and at that point, oh yes, Max hit a low blow on Joe from the top turnbuckle, and then put him in a fireman's carry, and then just started walking to the middle of the ring with you got about 250, 300 pounds carrying him, and then Max does an F5 on Joe.
Well, what else was he gonna do?
Yeah, and then he does he goes to the pin. Remsburg just out for like the longest time, and then he finally gets like 1, 2, and then just a kick out, and then it's like, oh man. And then the match ends when MJF was trying to like counter, and then Joe hooks in the coquina clutch.
Yes.
Max at one point, I think he almost got a counter when he flipped over and went for the pin attempt. This was like the typical pin when you have a sleeper, and then you flip over and you kind of like.
Oh, you mean the thing that Shayna Baszler lost to like so many times and would
Yeah,
not have and would not have lost if she had just broken the hold?
Right. Right. At that
Yeah.
point, Joe managed to kick out here, and then went back right into the coquina clutch, and then he hooked it in, and then Remsburg just does the thing where he picks up the
Mm-hmm.
arm for the 1, 2, 3, see if he's passed out for 2, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
1, 2, and then 3, and then Max's arm just drops, and then even the
Yeah.
referee was shocked. He was like,
Right.
"Okay,
Yeah.
call the bell. It's
Yeah.
over."
Bryce looked very shocked.
I was shocked. I was like, "Oh, he's out, he's out." And then Joe
Yes.
immediately breaks the hold. He's like, "Yes, I am the new champion."
All right.
Um,
Yeah. So,
so yeah, Joe walks out with the title.
great
Um,
match.
Great
Great
match.
match.
This was solid. It was 17 minutes. I wouldn't say it was one of MJF's best matches, but this
No,
is a
no, not at
solid.
all.
No, not at all. He's had better matches this past year, but yeah, this is a solid match. Kind of, I love the way how it just kind of ended without really any sort of like controversy. Yeah, the referee was knocked out. I mean, there was a low blow, but yeah, still that was not what finished Joe off. But it was very surprising to see somebody like just pass out from, because usually after the second drop of the hand, and then you go for the third drop to see if your hand will drop, and then no, suddenly you start fighting back, right? But that's why I think the Long Island crowd started chanting bullshit because they thought there was going to be a rally, but we didn't get it. Um, but yeah, let's Samoa Joe, the new AEW World Champion. We can go into that later, but let's go into
Mm-hmm.
the conclusion of the show. Max is distraught. He's in the ring, and Adam's trying to console him, and they're trying to get back up. And then suddenly, the four devil guys in the black and the mask show up again. They
Yep.
surround the ring. They jump. They go in the ring. They ambush Maxwell. They restrain Adam Cole. They don't hit him or anything. They restrain Adam Cole. Max has been restrained by two guys. Adam's been restrained by two guys. Adam, remember, poor Adam, he's still got the bum leg. He can't do anything. The fourth devil guy grabs a steel chair. He's like, he's like going to, he's like, Adam is like, don't hit him. Don't hit my Freddie Max. And Max was like, no, no, hit me. Don't you dare touch him. And then it looked like the devil guy was about to hit Adam when all the lights go out. It's completely black. And then when the lights come back on, Adam's just sitting in the chair with his
Mm-hmm.
head down, and everybody like knows, oh my god. And then Adam
Mm-hmm.
looks up. He's got this complete poker face. He slicks his hair back. The four devil guys are now behind him. Um, this is where I was upset a bit because it was a bad camera cut when all four of those guys tore their masks off at the same time because they cut
Yeah.
away to reveal Roddy Strong, the Kingdom, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett, who are now revealed as the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. So they're the guys who who beat Max for the titles. And then Wardlow. And
Yes.
Max is like looking, how could you do this to me? And then Roddy's gives them the jumping knee. Um, the Kingdom ambushes Max, and then they feed him the Wardlow, who gives him the massive power bomb. Adam gets up and then basically poses, and that's how we end the show. And
So,
we got a great line basically from Excalibur saying, "Maxwell Jacob Friedman's world has ended."
yes.
And
So basically, they kind of, I don't want to say telegraphed, but they kind of were giving hints of who
uh
these
huh,
guys were for a
yeah,
while.
mm,
Because Roddy Strong and the Kingdom were spending so much time saying, "Oh, Maxwell's the devil. Maxwell Jacob Friedman is the devil." Basically, it immediately like, oh, okay, they're part of the group. And then Wardlow one time had a match, and his hair was all messy because he had just taken a mask off. And then there was another time where he said, "Oh, your world is going to end." Basically, like, so everybody and their mother was expecting that this would be the reveal. And it's not bad. Again, we talked about it. Predictable's not bad if it's done right. this was done right.
Right.
And if you go back and you think about that storyline at Full Gear, which we all didn't like, this was Adam Cole trying to get MJF to lose the belt because he knew that he was hurt and he would have not been able to put up a fight. And Jay White would have just been the champion. Was it a good storyline at the time? Absolutely not. But it makes sense now. Um so yeah, then they came out on Dynamite and Adam Cole cut this amazing promo.
Yes. I love how Roddy kept doing the Adam, but it's
Yes.
not, but not as probably not as funny as it was before. I
Well,
mean,
as long
if they keep a humorous aspect to that, I would be fine. But yeah,
I'm
so
glad
they
he's not wearing the neck brace anymore.
yeah. So Adam's promo was yes fire. It was it I think everything Adam said was very accurate because he said like, if Max had the opportunity to do this to me, then he probably
Mhm.
would have.
Yep.
And it was like, I don't know if this goes back to Adam not being able to beat Max for the world title because that wasn't what he said in the promo, but
Mhm.
he was basically saying that like, at Max would I made Max the world champion and I'm the guy that like ended his title reign. He brought up how Samoa Joe and them were working together in the like secretly. And if you look back at some of the earlier stuff, Adam was like telling Max that he should try to rely on Joe because he can't be there to help him defend the Ring of Honor tag titles.
Yeah.
So that was very obvious. And now that they said that they're here, so by the way, they also revealed their new name, the Undisputed Kingdom.
Which is a name
You
that people kind of predicted.
Yeah, and you loved their new theme song because they actually
Yes.
played a bit of like Adam Cole's Baby song, and then they just cut it off, and then they
It's
just launched
great.
it in new music. It's yeah,
Yeah, it's
um,
great.
yeah. So they're now that they've gotten rid of Max, saying that he's never gonna come back, whatever. That they're
Yes.
here to pick up gold and like win some titles. Uh, Taven and Bennett already have the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Apparently, Roderick Strong is going to go after the international belt. And strangely enough, because Adam is now injured, he can't do anything. Wardlow is going to go after the AEW World Title, and then apparently, once Adam Cole is healed, Wardlow is just going to hand it over to him. Which, like, when they panned over to Wardlow after Adam Cole said that, Wardlow
Yeah.
was like,
He shook his head
he should
basically.
have said, yeah, yeah, yeah,
He
right.
he like
Sure,
winked.
dude. Sure, dude. I'm gonna
It
do
was
that
like a
exact.
wink and it was like a wink and a
Yeah,
nod without
he's
it
like,
being a wink
yeah,
and a nod.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha, bro.
But
But I,
I
I
don't
guess the
I
only,
don't
I guess
think I don't think Wardlow's going to win that belt, especially off of
no,
Samoa
because
Joe.
because it's so strange. This is the only part that didn't really make sense. Adam was like, Joe, hey man, love working with you. I just hope you're not still world champion by the time Wardlow moves up in the rankings, because I would really hate to do this to a friend. You were like, okay, so how is this
Well,
gonna work if
no, it makes sense.
it
It,
does
it,
a
it,
little bit,
it,
but I'm
it
like,
makes sense because him and Adam Cole are friends. Uh, he's not friends with Wardlow, as evident
yeah,
by
yeah.
their history. But
But it's like I don't. It's doubtful Joe is going to just let this kind of thing slide, and I'm predicting a very dominant reign for Samoa Joe, who is one of the like probably most dominant world champions in professional wrestling more recent history.
yeah,
Um, but subsequently, I think the Kingdom, Undisputed Kingdom, is going to be dealing with other problems because you get Jay White coming out here after this promo on Dynamite.
I love this.
I mean, this made total sense. This
Yeah,
neatly wrapped up everything because Jay White comes out and says, "Hey, Adam, congratulations! I love all this little stuff you did the old little Max there, and I love to see you didn't lose your edge. I'm just upset that you used me as collateral because you had your guys jump me in the back several months ago. Because remember all this time, Jay White thought it was Max that was under the mask, and he orchestrated the whole thing.
yep,
But apparently, at least they went back to that and said, "Hey, I'm not that happy you used me, in your little scheme. And like, and so are these other guys. They're not that happy either. The guns come back out. So the Bullet Club Gold guys go in and they start wailing on Taven Bennett and Roderick Strong. Wardlow wisely takes Adam out of the ring because Adam is not medically cleared. And I
Of
love
course.
how the doctors came out and said, no, no, you can't touch him. Can't touch him. He's not
Yeah,
medically cleared.
that was great.
That was consistent with
Yeah.
anything in wrestling. And then
Yep.
like Wardlow comes back and I guess outnumbers the Bullet Club Gold, and then the Acclaim come out because if you remember a month or so ago, the Acclaim were jumped by the Devil guys. Bowens got put through glass, so
Hmm.
the Acclaim and Billy Gunn come out, and they basically you got 6-on-4 at this point. So wisely, Adam Cole's buddies leave the ring,
That
and then you
that's
got
when
a
the
very
junk.
strange stare down between the Guns and their
Yes.
father.
Yes. That was when the Jungle Boy is the devil rumors started because of the
Yeah,
glass.
yeah. And then you
Um.
got the crowd chanting for the scissoring thing,
Yes.
but I'm like, yeah, Jay White's like, no, no,
So
but yeah, we are
uh,
not
uh,
gonna do that.
we spoke about it earlier, but I was kind of surprised that we didn't get any Hangman Page in this. But I guess he kind of acknowledged that Samoa Joe like paid the devil guys to attack Hangman.
Right, right. So
Um.
Hangman has more beef with Joe than with Adam Cole's group at this point because
Yes.
they didn't, they were paid off to attack him. They weren't like it was
Yeah.
Joe who
He
orchestrated
wasn't a
that stuff.
target. He
Yeah,
wasn't a
yeah.
target.
There's a lot of like quid pro quo. You do this for me, I do this for you, kind of thing. And at least they made that
Yes.
logical. Hangman didn't just come in like crazy eyed and just start going after those guys because like, hey, it's 4-on-1.
Yeah.
Why the hell would I go after that?
Yeah, so we'll see where this is going. Obviously, I'm very excited to see where this is going. And AEW is in this new era. And
Yeah. No Kenny
n-
Omega, no Young Bucks.
for now,
Heyman's back, but he's
yes.
off doing other things. Maybe not as much Chris Jericho. So a lot of new guys are getting
Yeah, and
moving up the
we
card.
saw a lot of different matches on
Yeah.
Dynamite that we normally would not see. And yeah, we're going to get Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy at some point, which is going to be great. Um, and we'll see where Samoa Joe is going. He did not appear physically on
Hmm.
Dynamite. He did a promo after the match that
Yeah.
was
Yep.
recorded.
He will be back
Um,
next week.
so we'll see who's going to confront him first. Swerve wants to face him, but now that he's got Paige in his
So
uh,
my prediction is they'll Swerve and Page may have one more match, but then Samoa Joe is like, I'm gonna fight both of you at the same time, and there's
yes,
gonna be a
I
triple
could
threat
see
match.
that. I could definitely see that happening.
Because Joe to me looks like the guy proactively going out there looking for challengers. He pretty much said that at the press conference.
Yes,
He said, look, I'll fight anybody. I don't care. Like, Hangman Page, whatever, Swerve Strickland, whatever.
yes,
Bring them all
and
on.
I have to look it up to, but somebody on Twitter X made like a really good like music video of Samoa Joe's words.
Oh,
And
really?
Samoa Joe saw it and like put like a googly eye reaction. So it was like really good. Um, it was at Tiger Style Pro. So if you go to at Tiger Style Pro on Twitter X, there's a music video that he created with the song
Oh,
"Mama Said Knock You Out" by LL Cool J.
okay. I just pulled it up. I'm gonna listen to it later, but yeah, this
Yes,
looks
it's a really good video that Samoa Joe apparently really liked, and just yeah, encapsulates like the kind of guy that Samoa Joe is. Just wants to attack everybody, wants to fight everybody. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this reign. I don't expect Samoa Joe to be the champion for a year at all.
mm,
Um, I think he holds it till Double or Nothing.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, and I think maybe,
Revolution seems too early.
yeah,
Revolution seems too early. But if Swerve is the guy, Double or Nothing is like I think the right time to do it. And Swerve should be the guy.
yeah. Maybe in that triple threat because like you can have Swerve pin Hangman and not involve Joe at all. So
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so wrapping up, AEW Worlds
Yep.
End 2023. Pretty solid pay-per-view. Looking forward to
Yes.
I guess this sort of quote unquote new era of AEW going forward.
Yep.
Yep,
Before we get out of here,
yeah.
I just want to mention Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom 18 took place on January 4th, like it always does. And Danielson and Okada had a much better match that I highly recommend. Osprey versus Moxley versus David Finlay was also very good. And we got a tease about where that is going after the match
Mm-hmm.
because the formerly
Nick,
known Dolph Ziggler.
yes, Nick Nemeth and his brother Ryan, the Nemeth brothers, showed up to watch at ringside, and then
Yes, they watched
David
like
Finley.
four. They watched like four matches, and then they
Yeah,
they
before
left it.
David Finley after the match decided
Yes,
to jump Dolph Ziggler, which led to David Finley in his post-match press conference in the back being jumped by Nick Nemeth, and then David Finley
yes,
ran off and left the belt there. And
yes.
basically,
So yeah,
you had Nick.
definitely
Yeah.
the last three matches are definitely the matches worth watching. Um, there was some good openers. The junior tag title match was actually very good, and TJP came back with this new character, which was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, and Uemura versus Suji was very good. Um, but yeah, those final three matches were absolutely amazing. Sonata versus Tetsuya Naito, which was built very very well, and commentary acknowledging all the history between them. And yeah, it was a great match. But obviously, Okada Danielson 2 was my match of the night.
Cool. Yeah. So as we sign off, I guess upcoming shows would be Hard to Kill, TNA Hard to Kill on Saturday, January 13th from Las Vegas, is signify the relaunch of Impact Wrestling as once again TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Royal Rumble's coming up too. I think that's on the Saturday, January 27th, maybe. I
That sounds right.
Yeah. But yeah, lots of excellent wrestling going forward.
Yeah.
So with that, thank you very much for listening, everybody, to the Going Over Big Time podcast. We will see you later on. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.